This story takes us to the Thabai village in central Kenya. We meet a man named Mugo. Mugo lives alone. He has no wife or kids. He also did not know his parents and was raised in his earlier years by his aunt, who was extremely abusive to him until her death. Mugo has not lived a rosy life. Adding to the fact that this story takes place at around the time Kenya is gaining independence after decades of brutality from the British, it's better if he had been born in another era. Mugo finds visitors at his home, namely Wamboi, a village elder, Warui, another village elder who has witnessed almost everything, and Gikonyo, a businessman. They tell Mugo about the Independence Day celebrations that are going to take place in a few days. They want him to join in the celebrations and also be chosen as a chief. Reason being is that he sheltered Kihika, a freedom fighter, when the colonialists were looking for him, and later was detained for defending a pregnant woman who was being beaten. Two other men joined this meeting, General R and Lieutenant Koina. The two men especially want to meet Mugo since he was the last person to see Kihika, and Kihika was scheduled to meet someone a week later, which led to his capture and execution. These two were in the forest with Kihika as freedom fighters. They want to expose the traitor during the upcoming celebrations. Mugo says he doesn't know who Kihika was to meet. They asked him to think about the offer of being chief and taking part in the ceremony, and gave him 3 days to think about it. When the men leave, Gikonyo walks back to Mugo's house, wanting to talk, but leaves without entering. He is extremely troubled and feels someone like Mugo would understand him. How did Gikonyo get to this point? Let's go back some years. The village was just like any other village in Central during colonization. The settlers ran every aspect of governance, and the locals really couldn't do much. Gikonyo never knew his father, and his mother was thrown out and came to the Thabai to make a living for herself and her son. He was a determined young man and was determined from an early age to make money and get land for his mother, and to be the provider. Growing up in the village, he had a couple of friends. One was called Karanja, and another one was Kihika. Kihika had a sister called Mumbi, who is basically the most beautiful girl in the village. Mumbi had two friends, Wamboko and Jerry, who were in love with Kihika. Kihika was a sharp boy and questioned a lot. He ran away from school after disagreeing with a teacher about scripture, in which he correctly pointed out something in scripture that the teacher was wrong about. The teacher, feeling embarrassed, wanted to beat Kihika, but Kihika jumped out of the window and ran away. He was always talking about politics and felt like a Moses trying to lead his people out of Egypt. Gikonyo is a carpenter and fixes things for people. He doesn't make much money from it as clients are also poor. He is in love with Mumbi but finds it hard to tell her. Karanja is also in love with Mumbi and even plays her the guitar and sings when they have youth gatherings in the forest. Gikonyo also plays guitar but never does it in public. Both him and Karanja are in a sort of competition to win her over. One day, he fixes a panga handle for Mumbi's mom, and Mumbi is greatly impressed. On this specific day, when he goes to take it to her, she tells him to stay a bit. After a while, Karanja, Kihika, Wamboko, and Jerry join. They engage in conversation until they realize they are late to the train platform. They usually go on Sundays to watch the train pass, and thereafter go to the forest to party. As they are all running to get there, Mumbi falls behind and Gikonyo stays to walk with her. They take a different route and end up in the forest. One thing leads to another, and let's just say Gikonyo gets the girl while Karanja was busy trying to be the first one to get to the platform. That same day, Kihika promises Wamboko that he will never leave her. Jerry is watching from afar and feels a resentment towards Wamboko. She feels like she understands Kihika more. Soon after, Mumbi becomes Gikonyo's wife. Kihika becomes more radical and decides to go to the forest and wage war against the British. Gikonyo is also becoming more radical. They even take the oath. During this period, the freedom fighters are attacking police posts, settlers, and anybody they consider a home guard. On one occasion, one of the colonialists' top administrators is assassinated by Kihika, there is a manhunt and he is considered the most wanted man. He comes across a hut and knocks. The man who opens the door is Mugo. Mugo is 25 at this time and is trying to build himself. He stays out of trouble and basically minds his own business. Kihika starts to engage him. Mugo is scared out of his mind as he knows if the house is raided and Kihika is found, he is done for. He ponders running out and telling the police but is scared of Kihika since he has just murdered a white man. Kihika thanks Mugo and says he is the type of guy the movement needs and he could be a leader. He tells Mugo that they should meet soon and tells him to meet in the forest in a week's time. He leaves with the hope of a bright future for the movement. Mugo is tormented mentally for the next couple of days. He does not know what to do. He blames Kihika for involving him in this and is scared of being killed by the police. As he is strolling still confused, he sees a bounty poster of Kihika. He sees the reward for his capture is a pretty good sum. He runs to the officials and tells one of the administrators that he knows where Kihika will be. That is how Kihika is captured. Soon after, Gikonyo is detained. Mumbi is left without her husband. She struggles a lot when he is gone and even has to rebuild their hut by herself, basically playing the man's role. Jerry is shot a few weeks after the death of Kihika. She had joined the fight for freedom. Wamboko becomes depressed and now just sleeps around with home guards and officers. Africans are being made to work very hard digging trenches. One day, Wamboko is beaten and Mugo comes to her aid. He is detained. He spends years detained, being questioned about the oath. He says he never took it. Other detainees see him as a hero as he never confesses. But in reality, he can't confess to anything as he's never taken the oath. In fact, the reason he helped the woman wasn't because of being a freedom fighter, but partially out of guilt for what he did to Kihika. Gikonyo is also being tortured in detention. What gives him hope, however, is the memory of Mumbi and his mother, and hoping he can go back to his wife. One day, he succumbs to the pressure and confesses the oath. He feels guilty but relieved that he will see Mumbi. When he is released, he heads back home. He has to ask the boy where the home is as they had to relocate with all the changes that were happening while he was in detention. When he gets to the door, Mumbi is shocked to see him. His mother embraces him. He sees Mumbi has a baby strapped to her back. This completely catches him off guard. Was Mumbi with other men all this time he was detained thinking about her? He doesn't talk much. Since the country is still under curfew, he has to report to the chief. When he gets there, he realizes his old friend Karanja is the chief, who pretends not to know him. Turns out he became a home guard right after Kihika's death. To add insult to injury, Karanja is the father of Mumbi's child. Gikonyo becomes cold towards Mumbi and the child. He buries himself in work and starts making money. Mumbi tries to explain what happened, but he doesn't want to hear. On one occasion, he pushes the child and beats Mumbi. She runs back to her parents, and Gikonyo's mother calls him a petulant child. Independence is coming at this time with all this going on in their lives. Mugo has a secret that no one knows, and the village considers him a hero. As he is pondering on whether to say yes or no, he goes to see Gikonyo but finds Mumbi, who decides to engage him in conversation. She tells him about her relationship with Gikonyo. He doesn't understand why she is telling him this. He leaves very troubled. Later, Mumbi is sent by Wamboi to talk to Mugo, as she believes a woman might be able to convince him. As they are talking, Mugo tells Mumbi that he killed Kihika and he will kill her too. He starts strangling her. She struggles for a bit, but then stops. When she stops struggling, Mugo also stops and he snaps back to reality. She leaves and tells no one. She does not want any more bloodshed linked to her brother. She knows Lieutenant Koina and General R are planning on outing Karanja as the traitor and have him killed. Even though she hates him, she sends a note to warn him not to come. She is doing her best to keep the peace and preserve life even as her own life is falling apart. D-Day is finally here. The crowd is huge and gathered for the celebration. They begin the day with a race in which Karanja and Gikonyo take part, along with the other guys. Gikonyo and Karanja are leading in the final lap. Gikonyo falls and trips Karanja, so they both don't finish. Gikonyo is taken to the hospital and has a broken arm. The crowd is excited to hear from Mugo. It doesn't want to hear from anyone else. General R gets on the podium and starts talking about how freedom without action means nothing. The crowd starts to get excited. He says that traitor is among them. Karanja realizes that he is being prepared for slaughter as Lieutenant Koina glances at him. General R says that the person who betrayed Kihika must identify himself. Suddenly, Mugo appears. The crowd is excited. He gets up and tells them he is the Judas and confesses. He then walks away. The crowd is silent. He realizes that he can get away, maybe even walk to Nairobi and start a new life. The rain stops him, however. He waits in his hut for judgment. General R and Lieutenant Koina come and knock, telling him his actions will judge him. A trial will be held in the forest and Wamboi will be the judge. It's a secret trial, so we can guess what happens to him. And that is A Grain of Wheat by Ngũgĩ with Thiong'o.